In here 1 second, please. Do 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 do. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good, good, good. All right. Well, I hope everybody had a great trading day today, and so I think this series this week will be pretty appropriate, considering that we are now in a downtrend. Had a great trading day today. So we talked about a lot last night. You know, the potential for things to move right directionally, especially if we gap down. And we talked about a 30-point gap down, 50-point gap down, like we saw, you know, the Corona crash. And today we had like a 70-point gap down. It was like, okay, a little bit more extreme than we were thinking. So that definitely got things going a little bit on the downside. So you know, until they bought the dip at the end of the day. So that kind of gives us something to look at and navigate and see where we go from there. So this week we're going to be talking about navigating the downtrend. I think it's a good week to do it with the Fed this week and everything like that. So let's definitely stay on top of this and you know, watch that downward trend line. So before we get started, everything we're going to talk about is for educational purposes only and not investment advice. So please take a moment to review this disclaimer. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good, good, good. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look and see where we left off at the market here today, and then we are going to take a look at the futures, see what we're up to or down here this evening, and then we're going to take a look at how we got where we are at right now. And I think you guys will like it. So let's get started. All right, so SPX, guys, whew, down 75 points today. Check out this monthly candle. Now, the month isn't over yet, obviously, but we're getting a little bit closer to the end of the month. And so far, it's setting up to look like a bearish engulfing month. That's kind of a rare candle. We don't see too many of those. We have seen one here, right? We barely got any downside follow-through off of that. We saw one here, so there's a couple out there. There was one right there, too. This one got a little bit of downside follow-through. It took 2 months to do it. So it is interesting, but you know, downside follow-through with more volume on this one, the downside could see some selling pressure over the next couple months. So we just have to see how that goes, or maybe it's just a little bit of a pullback, and we'll see where we go from there. Let's take a look here. We got the weekly chart pulled up. Okay, so weekly chart, guys. The big thing that we were looking at here with the weekly was 2 weeks ago. Right, we finished this 3-candle pattern right here, which is an evening star reversal pattern. We had a real body right here, we gapped above the real body here, right, and then we had a real body pushing down that close below 50% of the first candle. So this 3-candle pattern right here makes an evening star reversal. This is about a 72% chance of follow through to the downside. So that definitely gets us interested when we're looking at looking at positional moves, and we started to see that last week, right? We closed below it, you know, decent, right, a little decent move right here, and then so far this week we've gapped down and pushed all the way to the mid Bollinger Band, and they bought the dip at the end of the day. But that's some pretty decent follow through right there, right? So pretty cool stuff on the candlestick pattern with probabilities. Daily chart. So obviously we were concerned, right? We talked about last week. We really kind of nailed the market right here. 6 red days in a row, very rare, right? So we got a green day, then a pause day, and then Friday we closed down below the 50-day moving average with increasing volume on the SPY, and today we got some downside follow through, right? But they found some buying pressure from this area, right? So you can see here where they bought the dip last time. So it looks like they found they kind of like that 4,300 area. They also corresponded with the bottom of the cloud, and gave us a little bit of a bounce up here in the days. They bought it pretty aggressively into the close. You can see here when we look at the Elliott wave count that this the last hour of the day was a very powerful candle. Almost came, you know, 50% of the range of today's range just in one candle alone. Really incredible stuff, right? So where does that put us Elliott wave wise? Well, here's kind of what we're tracking right now. We looked at this initially as an ending diagonal for an ABC type move, and now, you know, instead of an ending diagonal, it could be a leading diagonal. And we started to look at that, and then we saw the ABC move right here for the wave 2, and then with the gap down this morning, we're like, that should pretty much confirm a wave 3 down. So the real question is, when were they going to buy the dip to give us a sub wave 2, right? Because all waves move in all impulsive waves move in 5 waves, right? So wave 3 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And so when we look at this, right, you kind of look at this, okay, so here's wave 1, because it was pretty impulsive altogether, and you could probably count like little subwaves in here, kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 type move. And so at this point, right, you look at an impulsive wave up, and we have to assume at this point now that they're working on a corrective wave up. So how are they going to do that, right? How could that end up manifesting? So one of the ideas is that this is the start of an impulsive wave up. So anytime you see an impulsive move in a corrective wave, right, you assume zigzag, right? And so we could see a little bit of a move up here going into tomorrow. And then we could kind of see some chop before the Fed right through Tuesday. And then Wednesday, who knows, maybe Jay Powell will say the right thing and get things going up here to finish the zigzag move. Because remember, corrective waves are 3 waves, A, B, C, and zigzags are 5, 3, 5. So you have an impulsive wave, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then an A, B, C down. Choppy day maybe on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, Jay Powell says all the right words, and we get another zigzag up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up in this wave. And then we see where we go from there. And then maybe the market's just like, wait a second, he said all the right stuff, and that got things going, but this thing is still really bearish, and we're really nervous about tapering and all that stuff. And then we get another impulsive wave down, which would be a wave 3 of 3, right? Because we have 1, 2, 3, right? So that would, a larger wave 3 down. So so that is definitely something that we're looking at. So let's look at the S&P futures. That kind of covers a lot of the information that we're going to go through today, but we do want to look at it. I want to show you how we got here. So futures here tonight. So far we're down about 5 points. Not really too super duper exciting one way or the other. We looked at the this geometric line right here. We can kind of put that here. We can kind of put that here right now, really. Another one we can kind of add is right here. They're about the same thing. So just kind of keep an eye on this going into tonight. See how it holds. Again, huge impulsive move to the upside right here. This kind of looks like an ABC type move, so we may see another push to the upside here as well. So we'll see how that goes going into tomorrow. So really, really cool stuff. Other than that, let's take a look at the topic, guys. So what happened? Where are we? So we're navigating a downtrend. So one of the ways we can navigate that is going through Elliott wave, right? And just basically going through our wave counts and trying to track these things, using our waves, using our Fibonacci's, using our gaps, using our levels, using our pivots, right? So that's one way to do it. But one of the big things that got us to this point is how do we know that we're in a downtrend? There's some tools that folks use, right? You could use your Bollinger Bands, you could use different type of channel techniques, things like that. But I think the best way to do it, the one that always tends to call market tops and really gives a great idea of trend is trend lines, right? And so when we go to SPX and we take a look here, what I'll do is I'll show you how we got to where we are from scratch here using SPX on the daily chart. And what we'll do is we'll take a look at the daily and really just kind of go through that. So you can see this is kind of the shell right here, of our downtrend. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up a clear chart here and just go back to the Corona crash and how we got to where we are, right? So we had a couple opportunities, we had a couple movements throughout the whole way where we started to see some downside movement. So how do we draw a trend line, guys? We reviewed this a lot, but it's always important. It's always good to find some to do some review, especially if somebody's just joining us right here too. It kind of helps us, right? So what we do is we look for if we're drawing an upward trend line, right? We basically look for pullbacks, we look for highs, we look for lows. Then what we try to do is we try to find a line. We go to the low, we go to the high, and then we pull the trend line over to where it doesn't intersect anything else, right? And that gives us here, right, our macro upward trend line, right? So that's a really important thing to be able to draw, right? And so what this does is it gives us clues into when the price action is going to change. So once we break below these levels, right, what that does is that forms a trend box, right? So it's basically telling us, hey, trend is trying to shift because we're breaking below these levels right here. And what we do is we keep an eye on this, we keep a track of this for when those changes, for when that change actually starts to confirm, right? Because sometimes we get a breakdown and it ends up kind of working its way up and it doesn't give us a trend shift, right? So the only time we get a trend shift, so say we kind of work our way up right here, the only time we get a trend shift is when we break down below the trend box low with increasing volume and we close towards the lows, right? When that happens, now we have a downtrend. Okay, so that shifts our trend, right? So what we do is we take our line, and how do we draw the trend line? So we go from the highs to the lows, and then we pull it this way to find where it doesn't intersect anything else, and that gives us our downward trend line, right? And so I'm just going to make that a red line right here, and you can see very nicely that we had an uptrend line right here, and now we have a downtrend right here, and we're downtrending until we can remove the trend box, and we're downtrending, right? We're bearish until proven otherwise. The only way that we can get out of this is if we break above the upper trend line, right? We form a trend box here, right? We go to the recent lows, we go here, we go here, and when we confirm above that with increasing volume, right? Do we actually break out of the the trend box through that fresh trend line, and then we start a new trend line up, right? Until we break through the prior highs of the original trend box. Once we break through there, then the macro trend line ends up going back in place, right? And we continue to track the larger trend up, right? And so that is basically what we are looking at here. So this is using trend lines is very, very helpful, guys, and it helped us determine that this market was heading towards a downtrend, heading towards a bearish market, and kind of going from there. Now, are we in a bear market? No, not necessarily, right? This is just the beginning of a potential move down. It could just be a corrective pattern. I think we're down like 5% from the highs, right? A true correction, right? We're looking at 10, 20% type moves, depending on how you want to define it, and kind of go from there, right? So, but it doesn't mean we're necessarily in a bear market. So, using the market right here, using the SPX, and putting our trend lines on this, let's go ahead and do that, and we'll see how we got into this downtrend, and then we'll see how we're going to go through navigating it, right? So all you do is, right, you start from the lows, right, from the Chrono Crash lows right there, the most recent lows. You go to the highs, and then you find wherever it intersects without tagging anything else. And it ended up being this guy right here. Okay, so once we get to that point, right, we broke below the downward trend line. We've been stalking this for a while. You can see here that we broke below the trend line right here, right? That definitely is like a shot across the bow, right? And it gets us concerned. Does that mean we want to short right there? No, not necessarily. It could be an undershoot, and we start to push our way back to all-time highs. But we get concerned, right? So what we do is we put the trend box around it. So here we go to the highs, and we go, let's say, down here, right? When the first a couple times we pierced it here, we pierced it here, and this was the one, right? So the big one right here that gave us our trend box. And so from there we just wait. We see if we continue to work our way back up. We get over the trend line, continue to work our way up, and try to get into a downtrend. Again, usually trend boxes are some sort of corrective pattern in the works, and then we wait for volume, right? So you can't see volume on SPX because this is the actual price of the market itself, but you can go to SPY, right? Or you can go to the S&P futures and kind of get. I like using SPY because it gives you a daily candle. You'd have to take the after hours data off for the S&P futures. But you can see this candle right here on Friday, right? Obviously, we had increasing volume, so that was definitely a confirmation day that we started to break down below here. And so once we did that on Friday, we knew we were in a downtrend, and we talked to you guys about that last night and here today, and that can kind of get us in bearish mindset, right? So does that mean we want to short this day? It's up to you. A lot of times, this is how big bearish moves start in these big trend moves on these confirmation days. We talked about some other areas of interest, like the 50-day moving average that kind of left a little bit of caution, but there could have been some sort of butterfly type pattern or debit spread to trade this with a little bit of risk, but a decent reward potential, right? And so that's exactly what happened, right? So once we did that, now we have our downward trend line right here. We can remove the trend box, and now we are in downtrend mode. So as long as we stay below this line right here, we're bearish till proven otherwise. Does that mean we won't see bullish price action? No, absolutely not, right? They can certainly rally this thing up and take it up to all-time highs and get us out of this trend line. But until then, we have to be concerned, and we continue to look at these levels, and we look at other levels too. We can put other geometric lines on here. There's a bump line right here, and see how these geometric lines hold, right? If they find resistance here, then that can give us some potential bearish trades, or at least give us some sentiment going into the day if we're day trading, to be like, hey, we're rejecting the bump line right here. Let's look for bearish setups, right? If we're seeing some intraday price action that confirms that this is this geometric line is in play. And so this is definitely this is certainly what we've been looking at, and getting us into how we are navigating this. And we'll continue to talk about that this week. We'll track the Elliott wave count this week, and we'll see how we handle these trend lines right here. And the big thing that we have coming up this week is Fed Day on Wednesday, and we really want to see if it plays out like we were talking about. Whether if we get that move from the Fed, right, we kind of get this little wave 2 pullback, and then maybe JPAS says the right stuff, and then we see if that holds or not. And if it doesn't, and we start to see some impulsive downside action, look out, because that's a wave 3 of 3, and a wave 3 of 3 is powerful, right? Because it's it would typically be one of the longest waves of one of the longest waves, right? So here, if this is your wave 1, this is your wave 2, this is your wave 3, well, the wave 3 of 3 is the one that's really gonna be the Kapowie type move there, potentially to the downside, right? So we're definitely tracking that going in this week and into the Fed. So do we have any idea what's going to happen into the Fed? No, we don't. But if he says the wrong things, right, and this becomes a kind of a smaller type corrective pattern, kind of choppy type stuff, and then we just flush after the Fed, watch out, because the wave 3 could be starting there as well. So definitely something that we're looking at here going into this week as we track being in the downtrend. So good stuff, guys. Well, hopefully you found that helpful. At this point now, if anybody's got any questions or chart requests, please feel free to plug those in the chat window. We'll get through as many as we can, try to wrap as early as possible so we can all get a good night's sleep and have another awesome trading day tomorrow. So good stuff. So options, Rock sent a few in via Twitter. So let's take a look at these and see how they're looking. Give me 1 second. We get a little sip of water here. Somebody said the ice in my cup always sounds like I'm drinking whiskey or something like that. Just water, guys. What were we talking about? Okay, I was kidding. So options are ICPT. Let's take a look. So ICPT, hanging in there, right? So we've got a kind of a decent candle the other day. No volume really to get us excited about it. We kind of had this. This doji towards the lows, right? Kind of almost a gravestone doji type face plant here into the 80 MA. It's still holding the 80 MA. So let's see how that goes on this one. Again, kind of biotech type name, right? So who knows when they're going to have some funky news that comes out, right? So CVGW. Let's take a look. Calivo Growers. Okay, so yeah, huge volume the other day on this, right? And then a decent push here on the today initially, but couldn't get above that candle right there and ended kind of giving an upper shadow off of it. Makes it a little tough, but it did close above the 80 MA, so let's see if we can stay constructed there. Let's take a look at JYNT. The JYNT guys. So we found some great bull flag breakouts recently. This one never ended up giving us any sort of confirmation on the breakout move. Kind of drifted its way up right here. It got as high as it could and then kind of came down here with the rest of the market here today. And obviously some volume on Friday. So we'll see how that goes there. See how it holds the 50-day moving average, see how it holds the cloud, and maybe try to get a bounce out of there. So good stuff. Shirley sent a few in via email. Shirley, I hope you're doing great out there. Excuse me. Hope you're doing great out there. So let's take a look at, you've got DOCS on the radar. Here's a name that a lot of folks like, and you can see why, right? We had this nice pennant breakout recently, but then we had this spinning top reversal, big breakdown right here. Would like to have seen a little more volume on this one, but we have a freshly formed 50-day moving average that could be a potential target on it. Let's take a look at DQ. DQ, again, another breakdown off of this one as well. Got really tight contraction to expansion to the downside. Just low volume here today, so a little bit tricky there. FSLR. A couple of the solar names are looking pretty interesting going into tomorrow. This one gave a gap fill here today. It ended up bouncing off of the gap fill, so look to see if they try to rally off of that. If they do, just kind of keep an eye on the sector. LCID with a nice engulfing candle right here. Not everything was bearish today, right? So LCID with a nice move here today. Good push up to the cloud area. Let's see if we can try to pierce that and try to get through it. And then you've got JMIA. Let's take a look. So JMIA, oof. Right, so it's kind of a little bit of a mini little flag breakdown right in here and increased volume. So let's see if it breaks down below these lows. Looks like it filled a gap down here. It might try to work its way down to kind of that 1780 area. So something to look at there too. Good stuff. Thanks, Shirley. Really appreciate it. Angelo, good evening. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you're doing great. Yeah, let's take a look at ITCI. So ITCI, decent candle here today as well. Looking for kind of bull flaggish, right? So kind of gave you that little breakout move here today. Again, the only thing about it is I'm not a huge fan of the volume, right? Now, I know Friday was OPEX day and usually get a little more above average volume, but we saw some stuff with some increasing volume here today. But it's looking interesting, like it's coming out of the flag again. See if it gets over these levels right here, right? Next level up is that guy, right? Around like that 3640 area. So something to keep an eye on there. Cup and handle, geoline, yeah. So you got a little bit of a kind of a little cup-ish type handle. It looks actually almost like a little more of an inverted head and shoulders. So starting to kind of creep its way out of there. So it could be very interesting. Nice find on that one. And then PLTR, let's take a look. PLTR again gave a great cup and handle breakout on that one. Yeah, exactly. And then but kind of back down. But it did give a nice move on that. So good find on that one there as well. Great job. Fast Johnny, what's going on? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, you got some Chinese names on the road. So PDD. PDD again below the 50-day moving average. These names were struggling a little bit here today. We'll see what happens once the Asian markets open a little bit more and see what kind of action we got out there. In the meantime, struggling a little bit right here. YY below the 50-day moving average. JD again big gap down here today, right to the 50-day moving average on this one. Futu a little bit of a gap down on this one here too. Spinning top. So let's see how that holds. Neo. Neo rough guys. Lost some major levels here on Neo today. Lost this prior support level right here and had trouble really kind of rallying back through it. Baba, let's take a look. Baba, guys, trying to hold on to the 150 level, right? So definitely something to keep an eye on there. And then TIGR, let's take a look. TIGR also lost a major kind of support level. So yeah, so wild stuff there. Aerospace and defense, what's going on? Chatterquant had some runners today. Nice, I love it. Good job. Glad you found that helpful. That's really great. Yeah, it was a great conversation last night and really fun. Michael Phillips, what's going on? Let's take a look. You got BX on the radar. Finally lost the ADMA, and it did it with just such a nasty candle. But at least it gave you a little bit of a heads up with a bearish engulfing candle with an upper shadow. So you got that going on. Bitcoin, old Biddy. Again, guys, this is I'm not a huge fan of Bitcoin right now. I liked it here when it broke out. I liked the bull flag breakout right here. It was great, right? We got a nice 23,000 point run since we pointed it out. Then we kind of had this bearish engulfing candle right here, bear flag, and then back down again here to the 50 200-day moving average cluster. Below here, the cloud is a possibility. So something to keep an eye on there. And then I'm not sure if ETH shows up in Thinkorswim now. Oh, it does. Okay, cool. Ether futures. All right, great. So yeah, looking similar to the Bitcoin, right? So you got that bear flag breakdown right at 50-day moving average. Again, below there, you got your cloud as potential support. Yeah, a lot of bearish 1-2-1-2s, exactly. So pretty cool stuff. Nice, Michael Felix. Good to see ya. Marcial, what's going on? Good to see you. You got FLGT. Let's take a look. So FLGT. Inside day today, kind of nestled between a bunch of moving averages, right? So just kind of see how it handles that inside day. It might give you a breakout one way or the other. And Apple, you're about to see some crazy lines on this one because we default this for our group where we put our levels on a lot of the stock names that we track. But a big gap down right here too. Kind of sitting with a spinning top, ended up holding a little bit of prior support right there, spinning top inside the cloud, but a breakdown here below today's lows over the next couple days could see the bottom of the cloud and possibly the 200-day moving average, so a little bit of caution there. But good stuff. Otas, what's going on? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. You got Pep on the radar? Yeah, under the ADMA on this one, unfortunately, but we'll see how that goes. Spinning top right there. Spinning top on NVIDIA at the 50-day moving average, but it did give a little bit of a bounce off of it. Zoom definitely on the radar going into this week. It just needs to give us some bullish price action over the ADMA. And mRNA, let's take a look. mRNA with an inside day below the ADMA on that one, so let's just kind of see how that goes right here. It was kind of looking a little bit pennant-ish, and then now we kind of looking maybe a little bear flag-ish. So kind of keep an eye on that one. If it does start to break down, maybe it'll get down to the cloud. So great find on those. And Marcial, I don't think the Chinese stocks will see any light soon. We'll see. There's always some shenanigans, right? So we've got that going on. JMOS, what's going on? Let's take a look. So you got Cube on the radar. So below the ADMA, a little bit of a bounce here. Hanging on to the 50-day moving average here so far, but a little bit of caution as we, you can see the ADMA is kind of pointing down, and we're just trending down a little bit. So just see how it goes. Let's see if we can get back above that with some volume and try to get going again. And Apple, wave 3 and Apple when it turns around, nice. Let's see how that goes too as well. I love it. Good find on that one. Michael Phillips, Nicola, about to squeeze. Oh, I don't know. That's a tough one. That's a tough one to see if this name's actually going to move again. I mean, like, isn't like the CEO like on the run or something like that? So it makes it a little bit of tough. They did get supposedly some sort of business in Germany, but who knows what kind of front that is, right? So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, if it does, right, let's see if we go. Let's see if we kind of pierce the cloud with some volume, kind of get going. But that would be pretty wild on Nicola. And excellent. What's going on? You got Gree. Let's take a look. Gree. Green Ridge Generation Holdings, so kind of a new type SPAC-ish type name, and just not really doing it yet, right? So just kind of worked its way down. They kind of started going right when the market was working its way down, so it makes it a little bit tough. But keep an eye on it, right? Once the market, if the market does start to turn around, maybe this one will kind of turn around with it, right? So let's see where we go from there. But good stuff, guys. Awesome. Really great chart request tonight. I'm really glad that everybody's doing well. I'm glad that folks that checked out the ChatterQuant video from yesterday are enjoying trying it out. I think it's a really cool program. I was checking it out today. Not a lot of sentiment on Reddit or Twitter, but there was some good, heavy discussion names too, which kind of gets you looking at some things. So that was pretty cool as well. So cool platform. But anyway, guys, I really appreciate everybody for tuning in here this evening. I hope everybody has a wonderful evening. We'll see you here, right here on YouTube for the Good Morning Market Prep video bright and early tomorrow morning. And until then, stay healthy out there and remember your risk first and stay safe.